I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, nor to defend his cause. Maintain the honors of his word, the glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, turn to Numbers chapter 26. We're going to be reading from verses 52 to 61. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Numbers 26, beginning at verse 52. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, To these the land shall be divided as an inheritance, according to the number of names. To a large tribe you shall give a larger inheritance, and to a small tribe you shall give a smaller inheritance. Each shall be given its inheritance according to those who are numbered of them. But the land shall be divided by lot. They shall inherit according to the names of the tribes of their fathers. According to the lot, their inheritance shall be divided between the larger and the smaller. And these are those who were numbered of the Levites, according to their families. Of Gershon, the family of the Gershonites. Of Kohath, the family of the Kohathites. Of Merari, the family of the Merarites. These are the families of the Levites. The family of the Libnites, the family of the Hebronites, the family of the Malites, the family of the Mushites, and the family of the Korathites. And Kohath begat Amram. The name of Amram's wife was Jochebed, the daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt. And to Amram she bore Aaron and Moses and their sister Miriam. To Aaron were born Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar. And Nadab and Abihu died when they offered profane fire before the Lord. Now those who were numbered of them were 23,000, every male from a month old and above, for they were not numbered among the other children of Israel, because there was no inheritance given to them among the children of Israel. These are those who were numbered by Moses and Eleazar the priest, who numbered the children of Israel in the plains of Moab, by the Jordan, across from Jericho. But among these there was not a man of those who were numbered by Moses and Aaron the priest, when they numbered the children of Israel in the wilderness of Sinai. For the Lord had said to them, They shall surely die in the wilderness. So there was not left a man of them except Caleb the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua the son of Nun. In this chapter we've been studying the second census of Israel, which occurred at the end of the period of wilderness wandering, just before Israel went in to conquer Canaan. We have noted that 7 of the tribes saw population increases concerning their men of war, the focus of this census, while 5 tribes saw decreases. On the whole, Israel's population decreased by 1,820 men of war, showing us the consequences of the sin which Israel had committed during this period of time, for had God blessed them, they would have become an even larger nation than they were when they left Egypt. Coming down to verse 52, we find God's instructions for how the land of Canaan was going to be divided up. You can imagine that if God hadn't set some order to how the land would be divided up, there would end up being civil war. Judah, the most populous tribe, would want the best land, but the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh might object, since they're sons of Joseph, who received the birthright, and together they outnumber Judah. Then, of course, the tribe of Reuben might get involved, claiming that since this tribe represents the oldest son of Jacob, they should get the best land. And you can see how the situation might devolve after that. God thus said that the land would be divided by lots, with the lots, of course, being directed by God. The territory would thus be given fairly and according to God's will. Just so each tribe knew the ground rules. The larger tribes would receive more land, while the smaller tribes would receive less land. Thus, if you take a look at the numbers of the second census again, you notice one thing. The tribe of Manasseh would receive a much greater inheritance than they would have under the first census, and Simeon will receive a much smaller inheritance than they would have under the first census. But such was fair, for larger tribes would need more land, while smaller tribes would need less land. Even though we're not told how the land would be divided up here, Canaan itself wouldn't be officially divided up until the book of Joshua, so we'll leave further comments on that until then. From verses 57 to 62, we deal with the numbers of the Levites. If you have noticed on the screen, the encampment chart has had the words "in progress" in the title, so that anybody watching would know that the chart is incomplete. with the numbers changing as we cover the different parts of this chapter. The Levites were excluded from the census itself, just like they were with the first census, because this census was counting men of war, and since the Levites were devoted to the service of the Lord and would not receive an inheritance, they were not counted. However, here in this section, we do get their numbers. But unlike earlier in the book, when the totals of each of the three main families, the Gershonites, the Kohathites, and the Merarites were given, here we're only told the total number of the Levites. After the period of wilderness wandering, the Levites, who were numbered, males from 1 month old and above, were numbered at 23,000. In Numbers 3, when the first census of the Levites were taken, there were 22,000, meaning that over the period of wandering, the number of Levites counted only grew by 1,000, representing a 4.5% increase, or an annual increase of about 0.1%. This increase was about on par with what was going on in Israel, showing us that the Levites were not exempt from the removal of God's blessing of the people as a whole. But what this number does show us is one thing, that the tribe of Simeon, as far as the number of people who were counted, was the smallest tribe in Israel. Now perhaps this isn't quite a fair comparison because different age groups are counted in each census, but at the very least, the tribe of Simeon and Levi are now much closer in population than they had ever been up to this point. And if you recall back to Genesis 49, Jacob didn't bless Simeon and Levi, but said that they would be scattered in Israel for what they did in their anger to the men of Shechem in Genesis 34. With the tribe of Levi not receiving an inheritance of land because they were dedicated to God, and Simeon receiving a much smaller inheritance, Jacob's words were coming to pass. The chapter closes by saying that the census didn't include anyone who was numbered in the first census, save for two men, Caleb and Joshua, the two men who didn't rebel when the spies gave the bad report. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Numbers chapter 27, verses 1 to 11, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time.
Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.
Of his cross.